Petey, tell YouTube, hey. Say, what's up, YouTube? It's that time again, ain't it? Look at her. Where's the other one at? I don't know where the other one is. Alright, y'all, so we headed to the garage again. I think we're gonna jerk the carburetor off the Ford truck today and see what we got going on. I don't really want to get into putting that transmission back together. Although I did get, so the clip that we were trying to find, I actually bought some, and we got one of them to work. So transmission's got that clip on it, so now we just gotta get the rest of it put back together. But today we're gonna take the carburetor off the Ford truck and see what we can figure out on it. So stay with us, see what we can find. All right, we gotta move some stuff out of the way here so we can get to this thing. And you got my garage door up all the way, but we still ain't finished buffing it. We gotta get turned around. Y'all can still see there's a lot of imperfections in it, but yeah, a lot better than it was, for sure. Alright. Take this off. My bolt's too short. My this bolt here is too short. It don't attach. So take out my 4 bolts here. Got 2 here, 2 in the back. We'll get this thing off. We'll pull this top plate off and see if this float's getting stuck in there. Hopefully that's all it is. So we gotta take this hose off, this linkage off, 4 bolts, and go from there. All right, y'all. So we got it off. So as most of y'all know now, this is a quadrijet carburetor, Chevrolet carburetor, which I gotta get. Sorry, that's on the ground. I gotta get these pieces out. Somebody's obviously tried to adjust them, third pliers or something. While I got this carburetor off this time, I'm gonna get these out and put some regular screws in it. This thing just has an adapter plate. So it's just got an adapter plate that bolts this intake, and yeah, just adapts up to the quadrijet stuff. So I had a guy ask me the other day how I put the quadrijet on there, so I figured I'd show you all that. So I know a lot of people don't like these things, but for what we would do with it, they're really good carburetors. I've had really good luck out of them. Unfortunately, this one, I don't know if the float's sticking or what, but yeah, we'll see what happens. We got 1, 2, 3. We got a couple bolts in here we gotta take out. It's hard to look through this camera. So I got 2 there. I got this one. I got these 2 back here, and maybe these 2 in here, I think. So anyway, let's stay with us, and we'll get this apart. We'll pour something in there and see if that float's hung or see what's going on with it. So all right, y'all. So this was right. You got 2 bolts there, 2 bolts there. Your side bolts here, your bolt up front, 2 in the back are the long ones. The rest of them are the same except for these 2 little taper bolts that actually go down in here. So once that's off, take all this off. It all comes off one piece. You got all that, so you want to set that to the side. Obviously, you don't make sure you don't bend any of that, so we'll just kind of set that over here. And then in here, get your float. So this one, I know most Hollies, they have the front and back bowls. This one, the bowl is in the center of the carburetor. So we'll take this gasket off, which is kind of a pain in the butt because you got to feed it around this. So we'll take it off and probably take some water and pour it down in there and see if that float's stuck. And if it is, I'll show you what I'm talking about for the people that don't know what I'm talking about a float being stuck. Pretty much what this float does is when the fuel gets in here, this float raises up, and it's got a little seat that goes down and closes off the port that lets the fuel in. When it does that, it stops the fuel from going in here. But I think what's happening is it is filling this up and the float's not coming up, or I have the float level too high. If you have the float level too high, it'll do it as well. So it's coming up, but the float's not coming up, and the fuel is just going into these ports and it's flooding the truck out. And I think that's the issue. That's kind of what we came to. But what I'll do is I'm gonna take this gasket off here. I'm gonna take some water and I'm gonna pour down in there and check see if that float's moving. If it's not, then we'll clean the water up, and we'll go from there on what we got to do to get it figured out and see what happens. So, and if it does, we'll be able to check where the float sits. When we pour the water in here, we'll see how high the float comes up before it blocks off that seat. And hopefully if it's nothing else, we can lower the float down a little bit, and I'll show you how we adjust the float on this thing as far as how we make the float sit lower in the bowl so not as much fuel gets in there. So let's get this gasket off and then I'll show you all that. All right, y'all, so I got the gasket off. This piece here, it moves, it's on a spring. That's for your, honestly, I have no idea. But it's, yeah, anyway. So in order to get the float out, you have to take this piece out and you have to take this piece out, and it actually sits on that. You can see when I move this, the float moves. So that's actually the piece that goes through the float, and then this goes on there and holds it all down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour water down in here. Make sure and things, well, it don't matter, it's our air pump on anyway. I'm gonna pour water down in here and we'll see what this float does. Like I said, you can see how this is made. So from here to here, this is your bowl for your carburetor on this thing. So let's see what happens here. So you can see the float come up. So now the question is it set too high? So let's see what happens. So realistically, I don't think the float's set too high. So what's going on with it here? Let's see what's leaking. See if we got anything dripping under here. I don't see anything dripping. Ultimately, honestly, y'all, don't know what's going on with it. Unless for some reason I have the float set too high. I really don't know. So let's take, sorry about my video and y'all, I'm trying to video and do this at the same time. I don't have anything. Well, I got something I could prop up. But I'm gonna take this out and dump this water out first. Actually, no, I'm just gonna go ahead and take this out and see where this sits and go from there. Maybe that needle that goes down in there is not seating down into it, letting, even though when it sets down, maybe the needle's not going down and stopping. I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a minute. There's like a little piece that's about that long or so, and it's got a little rubber seal on the end of it. And when this float pulls up, that seat goes down and stops the fuel from coming in through here. So yeah, let's see what's going on. All right, y'all, so I'm gonna try to video this if I can. See if I can get that to go out. All right, so if you look at this, this is your float. This is your piece here. It has a V cut in it. I don't know if you can see that or not, right in there. That's how you adjust it. You can squeeze that V together or far apart. This is the piece I was talking about right here. Oh, golly, I hate this thing sometimes. So down in here, you'll see when I pull this out, it's got a, see that piece? All right, now look at that. It's got trash on it. See that? Look at that trash. How that got in there, I don't know. But what is happening is that is not letting that seat sit down in there. Hold on, let me set this down. So ultimately, when the float raises up, this piece goes down in this hole farther to keep it from getting in there. So evidently it has got a piece of trash in it. When it gets trash in it, guess what it can't do? This piece can't go down in there and sit down in there, which leaves where the fuel's going in, it leaves it open and it's overflowing the carburetor, and it's running down in these open holes that runs straight down into the intake. So I'm going to clean this carburetor out a little bit more in some of these ports. I'm going to spray everything with brake cleaner, clean it all out real good again, even though I've been through it. The fuel lines was not the greatest. They were old fuel lines, so it probably had some trash in it. You know, I had a filter on it. When I first started, I had an old filter on it, had dirt in it. It probably got some trash in there. So let's clean this thing out, put it back on, and see what happens. All right, y'all, this thing's ready to put back together. Let me show you here. So this base plate has these holes they're not really covered up, and they had this in it, which is a flathead adjuster to adjust your idle airs, and the other one had this in it with that style. So we're going to put these other ones in it, and that way we can adjust it a little bit easier. I cleaned them up a little bit. The other ones I pulled out, whew, boy, they rough. I cleaned the holes out though. I went ahead and cleaned all that out. So we're going to put that in, put everything back together, see if we can get this thing on here. All right, y'all, so we're putting it back together. I got that back in there. As you can see, now that moves. Well, if I can get it to move. So, yep, so we'll get it put back together. Well, this is that piece I was talking about. So it sits down on there like that. Good to go. So, yeah. See if we can get it in here. All right, y'all, we got it back together. So these wouldn't go down in there. Look how far those go down in there. So these wouldn't go in there because of the head of them. So what I did is I took these and I cut a slit in them so I could get a screwdriver on them. So now let's get it back on the truck. See if I'll have Ashley turn the fuel pump on so I can see if it's gonna do the same thing or if it's gonna cut off or what it's gonna do. But let's get this thing back on that thing. All right, y'all, so carburetor's on. We got her fired up. I gotta turn the idle up a little bit or something on it. Oh man, I didn't bring my light over here. Hold on a minute, let me go get my light. I'll be right back here. All right, we got the light now. Look here, y'all. No fuel. So we good to go. I got this set, like, I don't know, it's low, 2.5, 3 pounds. Oh, excuse me. But the problem we was having is when that float would stick, like I said, it was running over and just dumping in these bowls, and it was actually filling up, and fuel was running out of here. I got a couple airlines I gotta fix. I gotta get to quit leaking. So I'm gonna plug them, but no fuel. So that issue's fixed. I can sit here and let it run with the fuel pump run the whole time. Don't have to deal with it. Good to go. So yeah. So that's just a little bit of, I wouldn't even say 101, just a little bit of what little bit of knowledge I have of these carburetors between me and Dad and what Dad's taught me, which isn't a whole lot. I don't know much about these things, but just give you an idea what happens if you're having, you know, like my issue was it was getting too much fuel. It was dumping out into the intake runners, and it was actually coming out of the carburetor in places. It was leaking out. You could see it where it's pushing fuel out because it was just constantly dumping fuel in there and the float wasn't closing. So just a couple things to look for if you're running into that issue. Hope this was helpful to somebody. If not, oh well, I appreciate y'all watching. I'm gonna be done for tonight. Might come out here and mess with the tuner on it tomorrow or Saturday or something and see if we can get it to idle, check the timing. I still feel like timing's off. It might just be doing it because it's cold, don't have a choke, because once it gets warm, it don't really mess. It don't really have any kind of issues. But yeah, we'll take care of all that. See if we can get this thing tuned up a little bit. So anyway, I appreciate y'all watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you on the next one.